You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Floors Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcock. So glad you could join us tonight. All week long I've just been having a great week. I've ran into some of you out in the public places, the restaurants and grocery store and different places around town. Some have come by the shop to visit. Some have called. Some have texted. Some have emailed me. It's always great to hear from you, the viewers, and I appreciate all your kind words and the fact that you enjoy watching this show makes it all that much better for me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I also want to extend a few special thanks tonight. You know, I made reference to here on the three episodes back that I had been approached by Mr. Randy Harrell, who's from here originally and now living out in Tennessee. And he said, I watch your show and I've got some pictures I'd like to share with you. And he sent me a few. If you remember, we shared some of his pictures on a couple of different shows over the last couple of weeks. Well, he sent me a flash drive, and it is chock-a-block full, to use an old saying. I haven't counted up, but it's somewhere between 500 and 600 pictures. There are pictures of old Rocky Mount. There are pictures of old Nashville. There are pictures. Some of you may remember John Taylor over on Trevathan Street in Rocky Mount here ran Carolina Electronics for many, many years. And he had one of the largest postcard collections that I've ever heard about from this area. And so I think in this collection that Randy sent me, there's something representative of every postcard that I think it was in John Taylor's collection. So I've been having a ball browsing through those and looking at those. And but like I said, there's just a ton of pictures. Some I already have, but a lot of them I did not have. And so thank you, Randy. I've been sorting through and kind of picking and choosing some of those to put together for a show. So probably next week we'll get into some more of those. Over the last couple of weeks, if you remember, we've been looking at some of Charlie Killebrew's pictures, and so I've got some of those to show you tonight. But I also had a really nice surprise today when I got back to my office. There was literally a bag sitting in my office chair, and my son told me, said, somebody came by while you were gone and dropped off some goodies for you. And it was Eric Dawson dropped the stuff off, so thank you, Eric. But it was some books, and Judy Wells, I understand, is a regular viewer of the show, and she made a really nice note here. I really enjoy your TV program. So she got to talk to Eric Dawson, haven't a chance to get up with me yet, but she sent these books by way of Eric, and some of these I've seen, some I have not seen. You've heard me mention Monica Fleming many times on the show. Monica is just a font of knowledge and information, and she's done an awful lot of very good work compiling a collection of pictures and memorabilia and things into 5 books so far, 5 and counting, I might add. I suspect there's probably another one in the works. But this one is the one, Edgecombe and Nash counties. I've shown, I think, a couple of her books in the past on prior shows, but this is one here that was in the collection. It was brought to me that Judy sent to me. I was browsing through it before the show tonight, and some of the pictures in here I have not seen before either, so we'll get some of those on the show, on a future show. There was also a couple of books in here that I was really excited to get my hands on about Portsmouth Island. I love to fish. I wish I had more time to do it. I don't get an opportunity to go fishing as often as I'd like to. But I've grown up fishing since I was a little bitty fella, and I love fishing at the coast, and all my life I'd heard about how good the fishing was at Portsmouth Island. And so at 61 years old, this past September, a good friend and I finally made a trip down to Portsmouth. And it was roughing it, to say the least. The cabins had been damaged by a prior hurricane, and so there was nowhere to stay unless you camped, and so we did. We spent a 5-day excursion down here at Portsmouth Island camping. And browsing through this book tonight, there's a lot of stories and history, but this is called Portsmouth Island, Short Stories in History. I think it was written around 1972 by a gentleman, Mr. Ben Salter. Ben Salter. I'm guessing some relation to Salter Path down around Atlantic Beach and all, maybe. But anyway, that was this book. And then there was another one. I've seen this book in some gift stores down around the coast. It's called Portsmouth Island, A Walk in the Past. And this is a really good book. Got it almost 200 pages in length. Got a bunch of pictures, some great articles. And this is one I had seen before but did not have, and so I tickled to get my hands on this one. This is another book here that was in. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books in this bag of books that Judy sent me, and so. But this is one, the history of the history of Parkview Hospital and the Parkview School of Nursing. And I've seen this book in the public library actually, and it's just got a lot of good pictures and a lot of history about Parkview Hospital and the nurses that trained at the nursing school over there and then went through and served all at Parkview. And last but not least, neat book here, this is called Blackbirds, The Glory Days of Rocky Mount Athletics by Lee Pace, and there's a foreword in it by Alan Gerganis. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this book here. It also has a bunch of pictures in it, some great stories about Rocky Mount sports and athletics and so forth. So I'm really looking forward, I should say, to getting in these books and seeing what's there, and I'll pull some pictures out of those and we'll share those on some future shows because there's a ton of pictures there and a lot of neat stories too. So anyway, having said all that, we're going to start off the pictures tonight. These are is about 48 or 49, I guess, in this collection that I pulled from Charlie Killebrew's collection online. If you remember from the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at some of Charlie's photographs that were pulled from the UNC, it's actually called the Wilson Library on the UNC campus at Chapel Hill. But anyway, these are some great pictures, and so where I could find, and I didn't do it very often, but where I could find a modern day representation of some of these old pictures, I've tried to include those. So you'll see there's a handful of these that I've got a picture from that Charlie took back in the 40s and 50s, and then I've got a corresponding picture, more recent anyway, if not exactly current. So with that being said, let's jump right into the first picture tonight, Lee. This first one is actually from 1964, and this is a picture of J.C. Fryer Motors, who was the Volkswagen dealership, obviously, in Rocky Mount. Some of you may recognize this building right off the get-go. I will give you a few hints before I show you what it looks like today. It's on North Church Street. I know the folks who operate the business out of this location today, and I had forgotten all about this being a Volkswagen dealership. If you remember, the Volkswagen dealership out on 301 across from Hardee's out there, and I'm drawing a blank now. But anyway, prior to that was this dealership right here. And so this picture was dated 1974, and as you can see, they had some cars on the lot that were not Volkswagens, but they were a Volkswagen dealership, J.C. Fryer, in 1964. And for those that haven't quite figured out why you recognize this building, let's go to the next picture, Lee, and this may help some of you realize why this building looks so familiar to you. Today, it's the home of Wholesale Paint Center on North Church Street. The building looks very similar as it did back in the early 1960s. Some of the glass in the front has been enclosed now, but it's still the same basic building. I think it's been added on to. I think there's a part on the back there that wasn't there when it was. In fact, I'm sure it is. That little shelter off to the left-hand side of the building there was not there when it was J.C. Fryer Volkswagen. But yeah, this is Wholesale Paint Center today, and good folks over there. So, all right, let's go to the next picture then. And this next picture, some of you may recognize this gentleman. I'm not sure this is who. The caption on this said J.D. Winston. And if it is a J.D. Winston, I remember he was a much younger man here than he was when I remember him from back in the 70s. But this picture was dated, it was dated in 1953, and it was captioned as J.D. Winston. And if you remember, J.D. Winston ran the Auto Equip place. He was a pilot, had a lot of different things going on downtown Rocky Mount, had a machine shop where he rebuilt motors and so forth. And so I'm not sure if the caption was trying to indicate that this was Mr. Winston himself or if this was somebody who worked for him. It was just captioned as J.D. Winston 1953. Another neat thing about these old Charlie Killebrew photos, even though they go back literally 50 and 60 years or more in some cases, the quality, and you've heard me say this before, the quality of these pictures is just absolutely phenomenal. You can zoom in and just zoom right in and get some very fine detail on some of these pictures. And there's one in particular that I don't have it in tonight's collection. We've looked at it on a prior show a week or two ago. But some good coverage of downtown Rocky Mount, some of these pictures. We're going to show you some more in a bit that's got some really great detail. But anyway, this is from 1953, Mr. J.D. Winston. I'm thinking, again, I'm not positive, but I think that's what the caption was implying, that this was indeed Mr. Winston. All right, let's go to the next one then. This next picture here was also dated 1953, and this was actually captioned as being Killebrew's studio. I think, and again, I'm not positive, I think this was down on Howard Street maybe. I know at one time he was down there somewhere in that area toward the Sunset Avenue end, I believe it was. But anyway, this was just, I guess Charlie was inside his own studio and took a picture looking back out toward the front door. But it's dated 1953, and it was, again, a lot of these pictures, I don't know whether Charlie himself identified them or someone else did, but a lot of them are identified in some measure. Some it's a word or two and some a little more detail. But anyway, okay. All right, let's go to the next one then. This next picture is dated from 1968, and apparently this was a remodel going on of the Cress's store down on Main Street, Rocky Mount. I used to love going in this store as a kid. It was, you know, the old-timey 5 and 10 cent store, so to speak. Had a lot of other things, you know, home supplies and so forth too, but it was just a neat store. I can't say I remember this remodel here, even though it was 1968. It's when the picture was captioned, but I don't remember seeing this work going on down there, so I'm not exactly sure what it was they were doing, unless they were just enclosing those windows. They've got scaffolding all the way from the ground to almost the top of the building, obviously, and so they may have been enclosing those windows or putting some kind of new siding on them. I'm just not sure, frankly. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. If you remember a few weeks ago, we showed a picture that had the 3 railroad tracks downtown Rocky Mount, and there was some discussion about when was there 3 railroad tracks in downtown Rocky Mount. And if you look real close, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there is that 3rd track, and this is about a block south of the Sunset Avenue, Main Street intersection there. You see Planters Bank there on your left-hand side of the screen. And from what we've been able to gather, this was like an area where I guess trains could pull off. This track was just a short segment of track. And, but you can see it pretty plainly here in this image. And of course you're looking north here, kind of on the south end of Main Street, looking north. But in any case, this is where the 3rd track was. And it was only, I don't know, less than a block in length, the area where this 3rd track existed. And of course, later years it was taken up, and so now there's only the 2 tracks out there on Main Street, Rocky Mount. But this is one of the few pictures that I had seen that you could get a good look at that 3rd track, or 3rd set of tracks, I should say. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. This was from, this one was actually dated 1954, and well, actually, I'm sorry, it was 1950s, not 54, 1950s. If you remember from last week, we showed a picture that we identified as being from what used to be known as Braswell's Pond. Now it's Belmont. And this is the same picture, not same picture, same location, I should say. Same pier, same little boathouse out there in the water. But this picture was taken from a little bit further distance away, and you can see off to the very right-hand side of the picture, there's a building, a structure over there. And my earliest recollection about this place was that there was a bearskin rug hanging on the wall outside of that building there on the right-hand side. And I don't know whether the bear was killed and mounted from being this immediate area here. I know in years past there's been black bears sighted around this area. Not too many years ago there was one sighted just north of Battleboro out there off 301. But I do remember there being a bearskin rug mounted hanging on the wall. But this is the same picture, same location, I should say, not the same picture, but the same location that we saw last week. And this was actually identified, maybe someone knows this gentleman, this was identified as being Nick Porter. Now, I don't know if Nick Porter was someone who had some kind of party or some kind of event, but this picture was actually identified as being Nick Porter circa 1950. I recognize the location, as I said, but I can't say I know who Rick Porter or Nick Porter was. So if anyone knows who that is, give us a call. By the way, 407-1111 is the number. Love to hear from you. We're taking your calls tonight. And if you got anything to add to any of the pictures, feel free to give us a call. All right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. This next picture is actually dated from 1954, and this is the 1-hour quartizing. And I've looked at this picture really hard. That lady right in the center there beside the cash register, I'm not certain, may be Mary Wells. I'm not positive about that. This was, like I say, from 1954, and I'm not sure how long she was there or when she became affiliated with the business. But anyway, this was obviously inside the business, 1 hour quartizing, 1954. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. This was a neat picture here, and I have seen similar pictures to this one. It's obviously the People's Tobacco Warehouse, and this was actually dated 1968. And so there was no other caption other than just a year. And so, and for the life of me, I'm drawing a blank. Maybe someone can refresh my memory where the People's Tobacco Warehouse was. I'm thinking it was down on Church Street, but don't quote me, I could be wrong on that. I remember the building, but I cannot remember where I saw it. So again, 407-1111 is the number. Feel free to give us a call. All right, Lee, let's go then to the next picture. And this was one that kind of caught me off guard. I can't say I remember this. This is from 1952, and this was the Salisbury Motors dealership. And again, those of you who are familiar with Rocky Mount may recognize this building. The building is still in existence. It's been added on to since this. But I did some digging, and I actually found this building, and I found a fairly recent image of what's there now. And like I said, the building itself is still standing. But this was a Studebaker dealership in Rocky Mount in 1952, and it was known as Salisbury Motors. All right, the next photograph, Lee, is actually the showroom inside Salisbury Motors. And as you can see there's a bunch of folks standing around looking at one of the new Studebakers there on the showroom floor. You see the glass all around the showroom on the outside there. And if you're not sure where this was, this next picture will probably clarify that for you. So let's go to the next picture, Lee. This is the same building today. This is on North Church Street, right across the street from where we just looked at the old J.C. Fryer Volkswagen dealership, where Wholesale Paint is now. And this is, there's been a couple different businesses in this building now, over the years I should say. I'm not exactly sure what's in it now. I was by there just last week, but I really didn't pay attention to the name on the business. But they made conveyor belts for a long time in here. There's been a couple other things in there. I'm not sure, they may still do that. But as you can see, the right part of your screen there has been added on to this building. But the left two structures, a little small place out front was the showroom for the Salisbury Motors dealership. And of course, the back bigger building just behind it would have most likely been the garage and service center and so forth for the dealership. And then in later years, the part to the right was added on. But anyway, Salisbury Motors, from 1952. Okay. All right, Lee, this next picture was one that I had seen before, but I had forgotten all about it. The Miami Inn and Restaurant. Miami Inn and Restaurant. And for those that are familiar with South Church Street, this is located at 1401 South Church Street in the 1952 city directory. Now, I'm not sure how long it was in business, and I'm not sure when it went out of business. And for the life of me, I don't remember. This was before my time, obviously. So if anyone remembers anything about this building, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. And I haven't even checked to make sure that we can take calls tonight, so let me make sure we can. Lee, I think we may have a problem with our phone here. I have no dial tone. So if you're trying to call us, folks, and not getting through, my apologies. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll tell you, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll see if we can figure out, and I do apologize. I didn't realize until just then that we have no dial tone on our phone. So when we come back, we'll get the phone straightened out. Oh, we got a call here. Let's see if this is a call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
All right, you're asking about the Miami Inn.
Yes, sir.
All right, that building is down there on the corner of was on the corner of Nashville Road and South Church Street there, where Arnold Adams Wholesale is.
Okay.
I was a small child. My daddy used to go in that place a lot. It was owned by a man named John Hall.
Okay.
He closed it up and retired when the 301 bypass opened.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife moved to Florida.
Wow.
And the same building later became, I think, an auto discount financial place for whatever. But that building has been gone a long time.
But it was on the left if you're headed south on Church Street, is that right?
Right, just as immediately after you went through the traffic light, going south towards Sharpsburg, it would have been right there on the corner, on the left.
Gotcha, okay. Well, I did not remember this building, and that explains why.
Enough.
Absolutely, you're right. Okay, buddy, thank you.
Okay.
All right, have a good one. Okay, all right, Lee, I don't know what I did. I pushed the wire in, the phone went to working. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take that commercial break. Folks, when we come back, I've got some more pictures to show you. We'll take your phone calls. Oh, we got one more call first, though. Let's get this, Lee, and then we'll take a break. Hello there, you on the air? Hello, caller.
Yeah, that building right there, that used to be a discount.
Okay.
That's where Sonia worked at.
I did not realize they were down that area, Rocky Mount.
Yeah.
So they must have moved from there over to Main Street.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
that's where they were when she worked at.
Okay. I was thinking they were over on Main Street at some point. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right, now we're going to take that commercial break. So, folks, we'll be right back in just a minute with more Wayback Wednesday. Take it away, Lee.
Servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, for just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox, having a good time with these old pictures tonight. And, I had forgotten, that was my dad just called in a minute ago and told me that my mother worked down there in that building that was the Miami Inn. And I seem to have a vague memory of her working there. I was young when she worked there, but I think after him saying that, I think I do remember this building. Obviously, it was not a restaurant at that time, so it was sometime after the Miami Inn had closed and the loan place went in there. But I had forgotten all about that building until my dad called and kind of vibrated the old brain cells there. So appreciate it, Pop. All right, Lee, let's jump back in our pictures. This next one is actually dated from 1955. And many of you remember this building too once you see it. Okay, there's the Miami. There you go. In 1955, this was the location of the Oaks restaurant. And we've actually shown this picture or a version of this on a prior show. I remember, of course, now this building is empty. It's been a lot of things over the years. It was a Rainbow Club for a while. It's on North Church Street, kind of crossways from the, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
All right, that building you're looking at right there that was the Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
It was built in the 1920s by a man whose name was Tank Davenport, and his wife's name was Hazel. And they lived upstairs. Their living quarters were upstairs. And Mr. Davenport was one of five. He had five. There were five of them. And the oldest one of that crowd was an in-law great uncle of mine.
Wow.
That's when that building came into existence, was in the 20s.
I didn't know that building was that old. That's surprising. It really is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Wow. It's been there a while, obviously.
Yeah, Tank Davenport had his oldest brother was Henry Davenport, who was a county commissioner in Edgecombe County, and they farmed out from Battleboro at Gethsemane.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't never remember knowing Tank Davenport personally or when he would have been born and died, but that's the going back starting point of that building was a man named Tank Davenport.
I wonder, was he related to Bertsy and David Davenport?
Yes.
Okay.
David Davenport's daddy would have been, I think, was Tank Davenport.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. I figured it had to be related somewhere down the line.
Right.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. All righty. Okay, then. So this next picture, go ahead and lead to the next one if you would, then. This next one is actually a great picture. I was telling you earlier about some of these shots have got some really good detail. And this is one that you can really zoom in on and get some really great detail. If you spend time, you can spend an hour looking at this picture alone. And this is obviously an aerial shot from the 1940s, and it's South Main looking north. And so as you can see there, you can see the train station down at the bottom lower left-hand corner of your screen there. The Rick's Hotel will be just beside that, and the Cambridge would be along in there somewhere on the left-hand side there. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
All right. That is an extremely good picture right there of the Rick's Hotel and the train station. And you can see that north leg of that Y. It looks like there's a locomotive, a steam locomotive on that Y towards Church Street.
Right.
Right to the left of what looks like to be that locomotive is the front door of the YMCA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this picture here I love this picture. In fact, if you want to come by the shop, I'll get you a copy of this one. But this is one that's got a lot of detail, and you can zoom in on it, and you can see a lot of different things in this picture.
Over there, about midway the picture, from the left, from going from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's the front side of the old sanatorium hospital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a great big building over there, off to the right of the sanatorium hospital, is that building that was the Norley Company, long in there, where the back of it was kind of around Coastline Street.
Right.
That's a good picture.
Yeah, and I tell you, as I said before, you can zoom in on this thing and you can just get all kind of detail. It really is a great picture.
All right.
Okay, thanks again.
All right.
All right, buddy. Okay, South Main looking north, 1940s this picture was. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. This next picture obviously is a center theater. Well, I take that back, it's not obvious, but it's actually inside the center theater. And I've seen a version of this picture. Oh, we got another call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Hey, good, Harold. How you, buddy?
I'm fine. Just wanted to comment on Killebrew's photography.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say enough about the good quality photos that he took.
Aren't they great?
They really are. You may or may not know this. When that collection was passed from his family to the Braswell Library, Dottie was one of several that volunteered to work many hours for several weeks there, or a year or so, sorting through his negatives. I guess they were all
right,
mostly negatives. And before that collection was turned over to Chapel Hill, they spent days and many hours with gowns, rubber gloves, and masks on, because the photos had not been kept in ideal conditions, atmospheric condition, and some had molded and deteriorated. But to still have that kind of quality is amazing, I think, from his collection.
They are. They really are amazing, and I just
showed.
I love looking at these old pictures, and particularly these that have got this much detail.
And Charlie, of course, was a pilot and did a lot of aerial photo work, and that day and time was almost unheard of. I guess he was one of the photographers that had access to an aircraft in those days. Gary Hodges does a lot of aerial photo work now.
He does indeed. Yes, he does.
Great work that will be in years to come to be historical, and he does good quality work too.
Yep.
But I just want to pass on that at the photo that you showed with the railroad tracks, I don't recall there being 3 lines through Rocky Mount tracks.
No, they weren't. It was one small section where they had that little track to come off to the side there.
I think they were the spur tracks coming to warehouses like Dillon Supply and the other near the Bluebird taxi cab spur there. There were some spurs that came off as it penetrated the city area there around the train station, but I think 2 tracks were the 2 main tracks that they used.
You're right. You're exactly right. Yep.
You're doing a good job. Keep up the good work, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay. All right, so we got another call. Let's get this call right quick. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
All right. You're talking about that 3rd track that was out there, kind of on the Edgecombe side of the tracks. That was a track that was there, a spur track, where the Atlantic Coast Line Railroad shoved passenger cars in there. They had a boiler up there, a steam boiler, to keep passenger cars heated. Days of passenger train travel. If they needed to add a car to a northbound or southbound consist, it would be sitting right there, already heated and ready to go, and to be hooked up as need be to satisfy passenger needs.
Okay.
It did not have any length to it, and it just was basically right there on the east side of the 2 tracks that were the main run-through tracks, and about straight across the street, across the railroad tracks from the train station.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
All right.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right, so this picture here is actually taken inside the Center Theater, 1950s. And I've seen a similar picture in the past, and this was some kind of children's event going on here, I think on a Saturday morning, something like that. But anyway, and I got my pictures out of sequence a little bit because, go ahead and lead to the next one. This next picture was actually, I think, the outside of the, well, you know what, it's okay. I think I may have even left it off altogether because now we're out to, this one was captioned Tobacco Market 1940s. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you're on the air.
Randy.
Yes, sir.
The 3rd track that people are talking about was actually called the Richmond running track. It was put there so that trains could bypass the standing passenger trains at the depot. As you will notice, that track had a switch that went back into the main line going north.
Okay.
There was also a little yard there behind, close to where the city lunch is. Okay, and then there was a service track that Eric just mentioned that the office cars was put there so they could maintain steam there. So, but the Richmond running track was there for years.
So was it, how long a segment of track was it? It didn't go the whole length of Main Street, did it?
No, it just was put there so that freight trains could bypass the passenger trains sitting at the depot.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make clear.
It was called a Richmond running track. It was a very familiar track for railroad people.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good deal. Thanks for sharing with us. All right. Have a good night. Okay. All right then. So this picture, I'm not certain. I want to say this is probably somewhere down around Church Street too. I'm not sure. I did zoom in on this at my office, and I really couldn't make out anything that was definitive. There is a water tower in the back left-hand. You can see the legs of the water tower in the upper left-hand corner of the picture, which would be in the far back part of the picture there on the left-hand side. So I'm thinking this could be maybe Church Street down near where Falls Road, near the Imperial Tobacco Center, but again, I'm not certain about that. There was no other identification other than it just said Tobacco Market 1940s. Well, we got a call. Maybe someone recognized it. Hello there, you on the air?
Yeah, that picture looks like it might be tobacco.
It is.
Market.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're trying to figure out where this picture was taken, and I'm thinking it's maybe Church Street, but I'm not certain. It looks like it could be down there somewhere around Church Street, Falls Road, but again, I'm not sure.
Well, it looks to me like it's a load of tobacco going to the warehouse.
I'm sure it is. In fact,
okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay. I think we had another call. Yep, we do. There it is. Let's get this caller. Hello, caller. You on the air?
All right. You ready?
I'm ready. Do you recognize this picture?
Yeah, that tobacco warehouse that's got its facade right out there close to Church Street. That camera is looking north.
Okay.
I think that tobacco warehouse is the tobacco warehouse that would have been on the back side of where Hardy's #1 restaurant was.
Okay.
There were two warehouses there where that spur track coming from the tobacco platform crossed Church Street right there. That tobacco warehouse was just north of the Church of the Good Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the camera is looking north.
Gotcha.
That water tank on the left would be the three-legged water tank that was on the Imperial Tobacco Company's property, which would be on the left
Right.
of that street where all those vehicles are staged.
It's a busy day for sure.
There was enough people in the back of town when the market opened in the middle of August that you could walk on their heads like you were at the state fair.
Yep. I can tell. It was a lot of activity for sure.
Right.
Sure was. Okay, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right, Lee, I tell you what, let's get one more in before we take our next commercial break. And you can go ahead and pull that up. But there you go. I did get my pictures out of sequence early. I apologize. But this is obviously the Center Theater. And I looked this movie up. The Mark of the Renegade was released in 1951. And, of course, starred Ricardo Montalban and Sid Charisse. So, and that other picture we showed was on the interior side of the Center Theater. And I don't know that the two pictures were related necessarily, but they were in the same grouping of pictures when I was going through. And so, again, this was from 1951. And as you can see, there was a crowd out there waiting to get in to see the theater. And in 1951, the theater was air conditioned, obviously. It says cool inside there. Now, let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air? Hello, caller.
How we doing?
All right. How you, sir?
I'm good for an old man.
I hear you.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to let your viewers know that during that time there were 3 movie theaters in Rocky Mount.
Right.
There was the Carolina, the Center, and the Cameo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is history now. You have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Have a good night. All right. I'll tell you what, Lee, bring it back to me. This will be a good stopping off point here. Take our next commercial break. When we come back, I've got a bunch more pictures to share with you, some old pictures that I'm sure you haven't seen before. So let's go ahead, Lee, and take this next break. Folks, if you got to get yourself a little snack, something to drink, a bathroom break, go ahead and take care of that business. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, Sponsored by Floors Glass and Mirror Company. Servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornstalk Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday. Sponsored by Floors Glass and Mirror Company. Servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcock. It's good of you to join us tonight. Looking at old pictures of Rocky Mountain in the area. These are from the Charlie Killebrew collection again. There's so many great pictures, I should say, there in this collection. And they're constantly adding pictures that they've scanned and generated from the old negatives. And so if you've not been there, if you have a computer or some way to get to this site, you really need to check it out. It's a lot of great pictures there of old Rocky Mountain, the area. So that being said, let's go right on, Lee, to the next picture. If you remember, we had a bit of discussion here a couple of weeks ago about the Rio down North Church Street down there where the Elks Lodge was. And anyway, caller called in during the break last week's show and said that prior to it being the Rio, it was actually the Club Carlisle. And so this was a couple of photographs that were in that collection. I'm sorry, not photographs, but advertisements, I should say. And as you can see, this was advertised as being the most exclusive club in the South, serving the world's best steak. It just lists Highway 301. And let's go to the next one, Lee. This next picture, these are all three ads, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is a little bit fuzzy, but you see Dance Tonight, #1 Club Carlisle. And it's a little hard to read, but I think, if this is the one I'm remembering, there was I tried to zoom in on it and get a little more detail on it. Let's go to the very next, there was three of these. Let's go to the next one, Lee. I think, there you go. This one, Sunday night specials, all you can eat for $1.55. There's a deal. So you go eat till your belly hurt, and you could dance the night away and do it all at the Club Carlisle and be in good company the whole time. So anyway, okay. Let's go on then, Lee. This next one's also an ad. And this is not real good quality either, but for those that watch every week, we talked about the Cobb and Foxhall warehouses on the last couple of shows. And of course, there was a Cobb and Foxhall #1 and a Cobb and Foxhall #2. I think we've determined that the one over on the corner of Thomas Street and Washington Street was the bigger of the two, and it was a #2. I think I'm right about that. I may have them backwards. But anyway, the bigger one was over on the corner of Thomas Street and Washington Street. And then, of course, the smaller one was further north off Church Street, I think it was. But anyway, this ad appeared, and there was no date with this, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to guess probably sometime in the 1950s. But in any case, that's what that was. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. This was from 1952. No, let me back up a minute. This was not dated. The next picture was 52. This one here was not dated. But the reason I included this, if you remember from last week's show or week before, we showed some pictures of the Copeland ladies department store that collapsed. Well, it was right beside the Cambridge Hotel, and it's kind of hard to read here, but they make a reference in this article that the Copeland's department store was actually part of it, I guess adjacent to the Cambridge Hotel. And so at the time the Cambridge Hotel was condemned, it was in really bad shape. There was multiple, there was roof leaks, there was electrical problems, there were plumbing problems, there were rotted floors, there was termite damage. And so there's some speculation that what may have happened to the Copeland's ladies department store was that the part that was adjacent to the Cambridge Hotel just collapsed, and it may have started, in fact, in the Cambridge Hotel building itself. But anyway, I do not have a date on this. I'm thinking it was sometime in the 50s, but it was an article that appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram referencing the fact that the Cambridge Hotel had been condemned. The odd thing is there were people living in it at this time. This article, because you're able to read it in the original, and it says there were people living in it, and at the time it was condemned, they were given a week to get out. It was in such dire straits that the building was literally uninhabitable anymore. And there were folks who had a lease to stay in a hotel, and they were told, you got a week and you got to get out because it's about to fall down around you. So anyway, okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And here we go. This is one, if you remember, we showed a picture last week. This is kind of neat because last week we showed a picture of, I think it was a fire engine, and across the street from it was the Quinn's furniture store. And here we have an old, I'm not sure what model car this was. The picture was captured in 1952. Now, obviously, this car goes back quite a bit further than that, but it was just captured as Quinn's Furniture 1952. And so I'm not sure what the significance is of this picture in the foreground here, but in the background, that's Quinn's Furniture back there. And this would have been the north side of Main Street on the west side, if I remember correctly from what I was looking at earlier. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And this next, I believe this is the advertisement. Yeah, this is from 1960. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
All right. That automobile you're looking at right there looked like with those spoke wheels on it. It had solid rubber tires on it, and the use of pneumatic tires on passenger cars didn't ever come about until about 1925 or 26. So that'll give you a idea that that vehicle was pre-1926 or 25.
Oh, okay. I knew it was an old one. I wasn't sure how old it was, but that makes sense. Yeah, it's an old car for sure. Okay, buddy. Thank you. Okay. Ray Bandy Dodge, this, by the way, this appeared in the 1960 city directory here, and it lists the address down in the bottom left-hand corner. I think it's 602 North Church Street. But anyway, this was, at that time, of course, they were DeSoto, Plymouth dealer, Valiant, and Hillman. I'm sure some of you remember the Hillman. That was before my time, but anyway. Let's go to the next picture, Lee, because the next one, I think, is actually, there you go. Maybe someone recognizes this gentleman here. This was from 1964. And this picture was just captioned Ray Bandy's Plymouth 1964. So I'm not sure who this fellow is. That looks to be a race car, drag car in fact. So I'm guessing it was a car that Ray Bandy sponsored for the local drag circuit. And it looks to be that the picture was taken maybe outside the dealership, though there's a Texaco gas station across the street, it looks like, and I don't remember there being a Texaco gas station across from Ray Bandy Dodge or Ray Bandy Plymouth. So maybe there was. That was before my time. Maybe someone else remembers that. I'm not sure, frankly. I don't remember. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this next one, this is interesting here because this picture was dated 1952. And you see there, this is obviously the band, the high school band from the Rocky Mount High School in 1952. Now, 1953 was when Rocky Mount Senior High School was built over on Artillery Street over there. So I'm thinking this was probably the last Rocky Mount High School graduating class, well, not graduating, the last band class that would have gone to school at this location. This is, of course, over on Marigold Street. In later years, it became R.M. Wilson Junior High School. It's now an apartment complex. But this was the Rocky Mount High School band in 1952. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller. There we go. We got you. Eric? Eric, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, buddy, go for it.
The last class that graduated from the high school on Marigold Street was in 1953. When senior high got built, the first class that graduated from the high school, then known as Rocky Mount Senior High, that occurred in the spring of 1954.
Okay, so I was off by a year then, okay.
Well, I mean, that picture right there is very well the last class that would have been at the old high school on Marigold Street.
Possibly, yep, it could have been. Could have been. I've got some pictures somewhere. They may not be in this collection, but I've got some pictures of the Rocky Mount High School in construction. And now that you say that, I remember that was dated as 1953. So the new high school was being built in 53. It probably finished sometime in that year, and you're right, they would have graduated, of course. The first class would have been in 54. So
that is correct.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thank you. Okay. All right, then, so Lee, let's go ahead then to the next picture. And I don't know how we circle back around here. I apparently got the same pictures in here more than once, and I do apologize. So you can go ahead on past these two. This is a duplication from earlier. There you go. That's the same we showed earlier. Okay, this picture right here is from the Robinson's department store. And in 1952 and 1953, I looked in the city directory, and Robinson's department store was located at 324 Southwest Main Street. So this would have been on, obviously, the west side of Main Street, down in the same general area down there near Station Square Mall, I guess is now, before you get to the train station, that area down there. But this was the inside of Robinson's department store, and this picture was actually dated 1953. And again, it's hard to tell from your TV screen, I know, but these pictures are such, we've said it before, but they have such great clarity and just so crisp and clear on a computer screen. You can literally zoom in and see the facial expressions of some of these people. It's just amazing to go back this far. I mean, these pictures are 60, 70 years old in many cases, and the quality is just unbelievable when you go to zoom in and look and see the clarity that's there. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And again, I must have picked up the same picture twice when I was getting things ready for the night. This is the same picture we showed earlier of the Crescent store being scaffolded all up for remodeling, so my apologies. And it looks like I think I did the same thing again, but go ahead, Lee, let's show this next one. This is that, yeah. Since we're back on this, and we've had a couple calls about this third track now, so this is a good representation to show you what we're talking about for those that may have missed the conversation about the third track. It was obviously a short section on the right-hand side there, and there is a spur track off to the right in this same general area here. But in any case, as the callers have said already, it was a short section, and I guess it was for cars to be waiting to be added to an existing train if need be, additional passenger cars and so forth, and also for trains to pass one another. They could pull off there and let trains pass and then pull back on the track. So anyway, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And this, we're back at the Nick Porter's. I got a loop here somehow on my flash drive, folks, and I do apologize. I don't know how I did this. This is the same picture we saw earlier at the old Brazel's Pond. And again, it was, I still don't know who Nick Porter's was, if anyone recognizes that name. But this was out there, what was Brazel's Pond now. A lot of folks refer to it as Belmont. Okay, and tell you what, Lee, you can see the numbers. Go on down to number 42. If you can read the numbers on the pictures, go on down to number 42. And this, there you go. This is Rosenblum Levy from 1952. This is one of the few pictures I've ever seen of Rosenblum at night, and it was a neat picture. And again, this TV screen image doesn't do justice to this picture and the detail and the clarity that's there. It's a beautiful picture, and it just doesn't do it justice in this image here. Let's go to the next one, Lee. This is actually, this next picture, this is a neat image here because there's 3 businesses here in one shot. You've got a Royal Palm Cafe to your left. You've got the TV and a radio appliance service called Home Appliance Company, obviously. They're just to the right of the Royal Palm Cafe. And just to the right of that is the Rocky Mount Furniture Company. Now, this picture was dated back from let's see what this date on this picture was, 1950, I believe it was. So I did a little bit of checking, 1952, I think, actually. But anyway, did a little checking, and then I found this exact same location. Go to the next picture, Lee, and as you can see today, this is how it looks today. Davis Furniture now occupies that building to the right, and the home of the original Palm Restaurant and the little electronics store, home appliance store right beside it. I think are both empty now. I'm not certain, but anyway, this is how that same exact location looks today after many, many years. I think we've got time for one more, Lee. That's going to do it for us tonight. In 1968, there was a strike with the SEL Railroad, and that gentleman was holding the strike sign there. And this picture here, actually, I'm not sure. This was Ruffin Colley's 106th birthday party in 1950. I'm not sure who Ruffin Colley was, but in 1950 he was 106 years old, had one heck of a birthday party. So anyway, okay, Lee, I tell you what, that's going to do it for us tonight. Bring it back to me. Folks, I want to thank you so much for your calls and your contributions to the show tonight. And my apologies for getting a little duplicate loop there. I'm not sure what happened there. I think I didn't realize I had added pictures to my flash drive and then added them again on another further down the list. So anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. It's been my pleasure to be with you tonight. Again, thank you for your calls and your comments and your memories. Always enjoy hearing from you, the viewers. Keep your comments coming to us. If you have any old pictures you want to share with us, let me know. Send them to me. You can call me on my cell at 252-883-1123. You can email me at randy@csorm.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to get your pictures. And thanks so much for the books, Judy. I appreciate them. Folks, have yourselves a great week. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other. We'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.